Join me as we learn together Chitas for Sunday, the first Torah reading of Parshas Vayeishev, chapter 37, verse 1. Last week's Torah reading concluded by telling us about the chieftains of all the different families of the families of Esav and how Yaakov settles in the land of Hebron. This week's Torah reading begins with, as Yaakov now is surrounded by his family, all are Torah observant, following the letter of the law, and he's settling and enjoying time with his family in the city of Hebron. Vayeishev Yaakov be'eretz megurei aviv, and it was now in the year 2208 from the world creation where Yaakov settled safely in the land of Hebron after escaping from Lavan and Esav. Where was he settled? Be'eretz megurei aviv, in the region where his father lived, which was Hebron. Be'eretz Canaan, in the land of Canaan. Rashi, Vayeishev Yaakov. Why does he now tell me about Yaakov? So Rashi explains what's happening here. Over here, now that the Torah already enumerated and told us about Yeshuv Vayeishev Esav v'terach Ketzara, that in short it told us all about the settling of Esav and his children, that they were not, and it doesn't go into length because they were not important, that they should be, that it should tell us in length about them, to explain the detail of where they were settled and in what lands they went to, with Seder Melchameseim and the order of their wars that they had. For example, how they eventually also conquered the Chorites' land. But over here now the Torah changes course and starts to explain to you Kol Yeshuva Yaakov, all the settlements and where Yaakov lived, and the happenings and his children in great length. And he tells us the detail, Kol Gilguli Sibasam, all the different places where they went and why they went to the different places. And why is that? Because they're important in front of God, that he should discuss them at length. Now Rashi adds and continues. You'll find the same thing, this rule, the 10 generations from Adam to Noach. So when the verses tell us about general people who are not the greatest, the Torah tells it to them in short. For example, Pliny so-and-so gave birth to so-and-so. But when then it comes to tell us about the stories of Noach, the Torah then goes at length. So too with the 10 generations from Noach to Avram, that being that they're not that important in front of God, he doesn't go them at length. He tells it them in short. However, when it comes to Avram, he continues to discuss it at length. And Rashi gives this a parable to the example of what it's similar to. Imagine Imagine one has a diamond and it falls bein hachol amongst and gets lost in the sand. A person looks through the sand, and he starts putting it through a sieve, and through and sifting through it, until he's able to find the gemstone. Once the fellow finds his diamond, he throws out the stones, he throws out the sand. He doesn't need all the other stuff. Miyade from his hand, and he takes the diamond. So too, God sifts through all the different people that he created until he comes to the diamond, the people who are important, and talks about them at length. Another explanation, what it means, Vayeishev Yaakov. And he gives the example, the parable, Hapishtani, a person who owns a lot of flax. Nichnesu Gmalov to Unim Tishtun. He has camels that are laden, filled with flax, and they have to go into the store. And what's he going to do with them? He has to get into the place where the blacksmith is. Hapechami, he wants to go into the area of where the blacksmith, and the blacksmith deals with banging out the metal, where there's fire to soften the metal, and so on. Tama. So the fellow wonders and asks the blacksmith, the person with the flax, asks the blacksmith, how am I going to get all this flax into the store if you're here with all your stuff? There was one smart guy on the side, one smart aleck, and he answered, he tells him, one little spark that comes out of the blacksmith's tools, Shalcha, sheseirif eskule. One little spark that comes out of the bellows of the blacksmith can burn and consume the entire flax. Kach Yaakov, so to Yaakov, ra kol alufim. He saw all the chiefs of families of all the different nations of Esav, Aksuvim Lamaila that were mentioned before. Toma, he wondered, Va'amar, and he asked, Mi yachalich b'shetzkul, and how am I able to conquer them all? Because it says in the end of days of Yaakov that the generals of Esav, that Zion, will all come to Zion and they will be judged. And the question was, how is it possible that at the end of days I will be able to conquer all the generals of Esav? So what did God tell him? So therefore, Maksiv Lamata, what does it say later on? Eila Tildas Yaakov Yosef, who are the children of Yaakov Yosef? In Ksivan it says, Yaakov Eish, that the family of Yaakov will be like fire, Beis Yosef Lahava like a flame, Beis Esav Lakash, and the family of Esav will be like straw. Meaning that, being that the Jewish people are compared to fire, and with them Yosef is also going to be like this flame, and the Esav is compared to the flax or to the straw, that will be destroyed quickly through the children of Yaakov. Verse 2. Eila Tildis Yaakov, these are the children of Yaakov, the descendants of Yaakov. Yosef ben Shvas Rishanoya. Yosef, it all began in 22:16 when Yosef was 17 years old. And what was he doing? He was pasturing the flock together with his brothers, Batzoin, with the sheep. Vahu Nar, and he was a young boy. As Bnei Bila, and he was with the sons of Bila, as Bnei Zilpa, and with the sons of Zilpa, Nishei Aviv, his father's wives. Yosef estibasam ra elavim, and Yosef brought the evil reports about his brothers and the way they conducted according to him in an inappropriate way. He told this to his father. Let's see Rashi, verse 2. What's going on here? Eila Tildis Yaakov. The Torah over here is not coming to tell me. He's coming to tell me about the children of Yaakov, but more about the places where they were. And he says, Eila, and these are, shall told us Yaakov, these are the places where Yaakov lived. Eila Yeshuveim ve'egilgaleim. This is the places where they lived, and this is the things that they've done as they went along the way. Shabo lichlal Yushav, and that they came finally to a permanent place to stay in the land of Israel. Siba Rishena. What's the reason why they had to move places after they were settled in the land of Israel? Yosef ben Shvas Rishana. Number one was the fact that when Yosef was 17 years old, he was then sold by his brothers, as we'll see later in this Torah reading. Because of this, they were moved and they had to go down to Egypt. This is the explanation that would be according to the simple interpretation, to explain each item according to what its needs. The Medrash explains as follows. Medrash HaKadosh Teresh. Why does it say these are the children of Yaakov and then continue to tell me about Yosef? Why does the Torah say these are the descendants and begins with Yosef? Because of many things. Number one, Achas. Because the entire being of Yaakov, why he even worked by Lavan for 14 years, was only to marry Rachel, to marry Rachel. And Rachel was about Yosef. Another reason was because Yaakov and Yosef looked alike. And everything that happened to Yaakov eventually happened to Yosef as well. For example, Zenistam and Zenistam, both were hated by their brothers. This one, Yaakov, his brother Esav, wanted to kill him, and this one, Yosef, his brothers, wanted to kill him, as we see later on in the verse. So too, there are many of these examples that the Medrash Rabbah brings, comparing Yaakov and Yosef's lives and how they were very alike. Another explanation of what this whole Vayeishev is all about. The word Vayeishev means that he wanted to settle restfully and peacefully. Bikesh Yaakov Leishev B'Shalva. Yaakov wanted to sit in peace and in harmony. Kafetz alav roig shel Yosef. But all of a sudden came the problems and the suffering that he had to go through, the anguish of the sale of Yosef. And this is because tzadikim ma'vakshem Leishev B'Shalva. The righteous want to have serenity, sit in peace in this world. Omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God says to them, Lo ydayon letzadikim Hashem etzukalam. Isn't it not enough that what they're going to have and what's prepared for them in the world to come? Lo'olam haba. They also want to sit in peace and tranquility in this world. What does it mean, Vahunar, that he was a young man? He would do things which were appropriate for young people, meaning, for example, Misakim Besairai, he would comb his hair, make his hair look nice. Memashmesh Be'inav, he would do something to his eyes. According to some, would put some mascara, whatever it may be, something to make his eyes look good. Kadesh Yanira Yafa, that he should look on the outside, he should look beautiful. As B'nai Bila, what does it mean that he was with the children of Bila and the children of Zilpa? Keloimar, meaning to say, V'ragil el B'nai Bila, he would hang out with the sons of Bila, Lafisha Yachav Mevazan, because the other brothers would embarrass them, saying that they were from the children of the maidservants. V'hu umekarvan, but Yosef was nice to them and would speak to them and bring them close. As Dibasam Ra, what were the bad words that he would say? This not that he made up stuff. Anything that he saw wrong of his brothers, the children of Leah, do, he would tell his father. For example, Rashi says, that they would be eating from the limb of a living animal. And that they would be disrespectful to these children of the maidservants, calling them servants because since their mother were maidservants. And number 3, v'chashudim ala royes, and he accused them of promiscuity. And all of these 3 things that he spoke against his brothers, all of these 3 things happened to him as well. Laka, he was punished with them as well. Number 1, the fact that he accused them of Ever Menachai. Because of that, they slaughtered a goat and dipped his shirt into it, thereby thinking that he was killed. Lo yachlu, and they did not eat it chai while it was alive. V'al dibe v'lo yachlu chai, and they did not eat it while the goat was alive. And also they didn't say that he was still alive. V'al diba shesiper alein shekerim lachein avadim, and the very fact that he called, and the fact that he spoke to his father that his brothers called the other brothers slaves. La'evan nimka Yosef, Yosef was sold as a slave. And then and then the fact of promiscuity that he told to his father as well. What happened to him? That he was seduced by his master's wife. Dibasam. What does the word dibasam mean? Kol loshin diba. Whenever he uses the terminology in the verse diba for words, perlitz bilaz. Furlitz. Kol masha yochel daber bamra. That any time he would try to find something bad to speak about them, he would. The word diba also comes from the word loshin doiviv sifse yeshenim. That for example, talks about in the Song of Songs that wine is good for those that articulate and speak, even those that are sleeping. Continuing in the Chumash, verse 3. The Yisrael ohav as Yosef mikol banav. However, Israel, referring to Yaakov, loved Yosef more than all his other sons, because he was a son of old age. Not only that, he made for him a robe of fine wool. Ben Zekunim, what does it mean, Ben Zekunim? Rashi explains, that he was born to him at an old age. Unclus Tirgim, however, the Unclus translates this to mean, Bar Chakim Hulei, he was a brilliant boy for him, a young, smart individual. Kol Ma Shalomad, whatever he learned of the Torah in the yeshiva of Shem and Aver, Mosar, he gave it over to Yosef. Davrach, another explanation was that they looked very much the same. Doimaloi, that he looked like Yaakov, and therefore he had a special love towards him. Pasim, what does the word pasim mean? Losha in clay milas. These were clothes. It talks about clothing which was made from very fine wool. Kemoi, for example, we find this in the book of Esther. Karpas usechelas, kemoi kesenas apasim, the Tamar v'Amnon, also the ketonas apasim, which is mentioned by Tamar and Amnon in the book of Shmuel, Medrash Haggadah. Another Medrash explains that over here the word pasim is actually an acronym of the troubles that are going to happen to Yosef. Al Shem Tzaresav, because of the troubles that is going to happen to Yosef. Number 1, Potifar, which is the pay. L'seicherim, to the merchants, l'ishmaelim, to the Arabs, l'midyanim, and to the Midianites, and all those make the word pasim. Vayiru Echav, and the brothers saw. Ki oiv avim, that his father liked them, liked him, mikol echav, more than the rest of his brothers. Vayisnu say, and they hated him for it. Vayachlu dabru l'shalom, and they could not speak with him peacefully. Vayachlu dabru l'shalom, Rashi tells us, b'toich genusam, because of the terrible things he would tell his father about, mitoich genusam, from the not nice things that the Torah tells us about the brothers, the fact that they hated him. Lamadnu shivcham, we also learn their praise, we also learn something nice. That even though the Torah is telling us something negative about the brothers, we learned something positive as well, that they were straightforward. It wasn't that they said something and felt something differently. Whatever they felt, they were outspoken and said that as well. And because of that, they couldn't speak peacefully to him. Dabre ledaber imay, to speak with him. Verse 5. Vayachlim Yosef, and Yosef had a dream. Vayagid le'echav, and he told it to his brothers. Vayisifu itznei Yosei, and they continued to hate him even more after the dream, because of the dream. What was the dream? Verse 7. V'hinei, and behold, he said to them. Vayemer aleim, and he said, verse 6. And he said to them, Vayemer aleim, and he said to them, Shimonu achalem azasher chalamti, listen up to the dream that I have had. Verse 7. And there we were, binding sheaves in the midst of the field. The middle of the field. When my sheaf stood. The Gamni Tzava was standing straight upright. It remained standing. And then your sheaves reformed a circle, and your sheaves made a circle around mine. And they all bowed down to my sheaf. Rashi. What does it mean that we were bundling sheaves? We were tying the wheat together to make bundles of them. We find this in Tehillim. The word alumis means bundles, that a person would go and announce who it was maybe. It stood up and remained standing. Not only did it stand, the other ones also stood up, but then they fell. His stood and remained standing while the rest of the bundles bowed down to him. Verse 8. And his brothers told him, would you really seek to reign over us? Would you really seek to rule over us? And they continued to hate him even more, because of his dreams and because of the talk that he told to his father, as well as he proved that he took the dreams very seriously. Al devarav, Rashi says, al dibasam ran, the terrible things, shayamevi the aviyam, that he would tell his father about them. Verse 9. And he had another dream, and he told it to his brothers, and he said, here I had another dream. And behold, the sun and the moon, and the 11 stars, were bowing down before me. Verse 10, and he told this to his told the dream to his father, and to his brothers, in the presence of his brothers. And his father then became angry at him. And he told him, what is this dream that you've dreamt? How is this able to happen? Is it even possible that I, your mother, and your brothers will come to you to bow ourselves down on the ground before you? How is this even possible? Verse 10, he already told the dream to his brothers. After he told it to his brothers, he then went and retold the dream again in front of his brothers to his father. His father saw the need to get angry at him because he was creating animosity between him and his brothers, and therefore he felt that this would help to cool down the hate that existed between the brothers and Yosef. In a question, he was asking, your mother already died, and therefore the dream cannot happen. Yaakov did not know that this was referring to Bilhah. Because Bilhah brought him up like a mother. However, the rabbis learn an interesting thing concerning dreams just from this episode. There is no dream without nonsense in it. Every dream has to have something which is not true. The reason why Yaakov did this, he was hoping that his brothers shouldn't think about this. They should not be jealous of him. Likach, therefore, when he got angry at them, Omerla, he said, Havoinova, is it even possible for this even to happen? Kashem she'efsher be'imcha kach ashar batel. The same way that it's impossible for your mother to come to bow down before you, because she already passed, so too the rest of the dream is nonsense, and this way hoping that the brothers would dismiss it. However, Vayikanu Vayeishev, his brothers remained jealous of him. It didn't help. Va'aviv shamar es hadavar. But his father waited expectantly for this matter to take place. Shomer es hadavar, as Rashi tells us, he was waiting and expecting for this to happen. We find this other places, Shemer Amunim, Leisishmer al Chatasid, meaning the words don't wait, don't to expect it. If we look at the beginning of this week's Torah reading, where it tells us Vayeishev, Eila Tildas Yaakov Yosef, these are the descendants of Yaakov Yosef, Chassidus explains to us that what does it mean? These are the descendants. Yaakov is Yosef, that if we look at Yosef's life is a paradigm for the Jewish people going through the exiles. Yosef was a person that had great dreams, but he was hated because of it. And as he went along, he was successful, and the more he was successful, the more people were jealous, and the more in trouble he got, and the more people hated him. So too the Jewish people. We're going to go through many different exiles where the people around us are going to hate us because of our success and be jealous of us because of our success and our knowledge. And even when we go down to a place, they're going to throw us into prison, and even there we'll be successful. No matter what the exile will happen to us, the Jewish people will always be successful coming out on top. Until the time will come that they will see that Yosef hu Ashbir, that Yosef was the one that fed everybody and took care of everybody. The time when it comes, the coming of Mashiach, that the nations of the world recognize that Yosef, the Jewish people, are the essence of the world and are those greatest contribution, and all of the world will be dependent on the Jewish people. This concludes the first Torah reading of Parshas Vayeishev.